Lucas has his own agency, closed over 9 figures in real estate in his life. He's the perfect guy to talk to today.
Being able to talk to people is one thing, but being able to sell people is a completely different thing.
Like, are you the question man or are you the answer man? Most real estate agents are the answer man.
The closing doesn't start at the end, and that's where people make the mistake. They wait until the end to try and close, and then that's when the friction comes. I like to call it commission breath. The buyers can smell it a mile away.
Yeah.
They know you are desperate for a deal because you aren't actually taking in anything. The biggest thing you can do in sales is...
All right, welcome to a new episode of the Lead Estate Podcast. I'm here with Lucas, and in this episode we are going to dive deep into real estate sales. In previous podcasts we've talked about our whole growth formula, about everything that we do from lead generation to closing the deal to making sure that we achieve an ROI. But one of the biggest reasons why lead generation or marketing doesn't eventually lead to ROI is because of an unstructured, inconsistent, and just a low quality sales process and sales skills. And that's why we're sitting here with Lucas today. Lucas has his own agency, coaching on real estate sales, closed over 9 figures in real estate in his life, and he's the perfect guy to talk to today. So welcome, Lucas.
Thank you very much.
Amazing. Yeah. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your journey, how you got to where you are, and how you first of all managed to close like 9 figures in real estate deals.
Yeah. So it's been quite a long journey. I say long, but for most people, they'd probably deem it quite short. For me, I started my real estate career at 18. So prior to that, was in school, was just doing any job that I could get into at the time. There was a place up the road from me where it was essentially a wine and steak bar. So I got my first job there at around 15. And again, I'm not going to name the name of it purely down to the fact that it was cash in hand. So, we'll keep that one quiet. And at the back of that, my job there was to purely just to upsell anyone that came in. Upsell them to the better steaks, upsell them to the better wines, whatever pairings need to be done. So that I would say was my first taste when it came down to sales. And again, that was very front facing, not over the phone, in person, new people day in, day out. Again, you have the return customers, and it essentially teaches you the relationship management. And again, the best thing that I'd always push on was the understanding of who it is that you're dealing with, which moving into real estate was probably one of the biggest things to focus on. Yeah. Off the back of that, went and worked in an investment firm up in London for about 3 to 6 months. Ended up leaving that because I got the opportunity in Dubai. And then from there, just hit the ground running straight away in Dubai. Did my first sale in the first 3 weeks of being on the floor. And out of the back of that client actually ended up buying multiple properties through me, even to this day, still does. So again, sometimes starting on the shit stock, as I like to call it, is the best way to go. So moving through, I've changed multiple companies. I've worked in multiple companies with their brokers, with their new joiners, with experienced. And for me, the biggest thing now is just essentially being able to sit there and understand the formula behind what actually creates a successful broker, but also a successful brokerage.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I think when I last saw, there's like at least registered like 30,000 brokers or agents in Dubai, I believe, if not more. And like, it's very difficult for a lot of people to break into that market, right? You see a lot of bigger agencies that have like 100 agents, everyone is starting their own little personal brand, everyone is doing their own thing. But I would say 80% doesn't really close that many deals, right?
I mean, I'd potentially even say it's more than that. Because I think the biggest issue now, especially in real estate, is it's becoming very glamorized, let's say, in terms of people see what they see on social media, which is always the good stuff, but they never see the realities of what actually goes on behind the scenes. So especially in the Dubai market now, I'd say one of the biggest problems is a lot of people come out with, let's say, a false idea of what the job actually entails, down to TV shows, down to what they're seeing online and whatever. So when they come out, they're not actually ready for the work rate that you have to put in. And again, when I started in the market, this is almost 6 years ago, it was still a busy market, and working on the Palm, it was one of the highest amount of agents per stock as an area. So one of the hardest to break into from the start. But with that in mind, it's like now you are dealing across the board. Every area is busy. You're dealing with people who have been there 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And it's not to say that you can't break into this space, but it's the work rate that you have to put now compared to even 5 years ago. Yeah. It's bigger than it ever was because the competition is harder than it will ever be.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like from the brokerage side, you know, what I see there is that a lot of companies are trying to scale in terms of numbers.
Yeah.
Right. Even yesterday, this is not in Dubai, but this is in Lisbon, in Portugal. Yesterday, I spoke to an agency, and they were new, but they're really trying to scale in numbers.
Yeah.
And I was like, "How much agents do you have?" It's like, "Yeah, 20." And what did you do this year? Like 100,000 in revenue. I'm like why are you scaling that much in agents? Because you're only wasting your time training all of these agents. They were training them on all the rules on real estate, all the legislation, but also on sales. But no one was actually picking up the phone and calling people.
Yeah.
You know, which is just the first step. If you're not making deals, you just pick up the phone and call people. And yeah, it's just a complete waste of time. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about as well. And what we also talked about off camera is it all first starts with the company structure.
Yeah.
And basically the top to bottom and how you communicate with your whole sales team and how you structure everything, right?
Yeah.
Because in the end, the agents are a reflection of you as the business owner and how you structure a company and they just do what you tell them to do.
Exactly.
Right? And if they don't, then fire them.
Exactly
right?
that.
So, yeah.
I think one of the biggest things is what you mentioned there. Funny enough, I had a conversation yesterday with someone who has started an agency, and they're going down the same route of, okay, let's just hire. I think at the moment they've only got about 10 agents, but they're very, very fresh. And again, if you look at the quality of agents and you look at who's coming in, it's not to say that you don't give new people an opportunity. Mm-hmm. You always do. Okay, but you have to be so precise on who you're giving those opportunities to, because again, one of the people that joined, he sat down, they had a meeting, and he was like, oh, okay, so a brief overview on the market, brief overview on how things work, what the structure is going to look like, etc. And his response when it was like, okay, but let's just get you started on the cold lead, see if we can warm any of them up, was, okay, yeah, fine, but let me just speak to Claude. Mm-hmm. And that for me is very scary, because don't get me wrong, like Claude is good for certain things, but when it comes down to sales, especially real estate, you can't rely on Claude, who has never sold a house in their life, to give you the answers of what actually works. Now, yes, it's got heaps of data to back what it's saying, but again, we're very much in an industry where you need to be a certain type of person, and this is one thing that I truly believe, not everyone will be able to make it.
Yeah.
Down to, you've got natural talent, and I think a lot of people get confused when it comes down to what natural talent is. Being able to talk to people is one thing, but being able to sell people is a completely different thing. And I think that's what most people get confused at. They're good at having conversations. They've got the gift of the gab, as everyone calls it. But what does it actually lead to? Or are you just good at essentially that initial stage? Because when it comes down to the rapport building, let's talk about. The rapport building, I would say, is probably the most crucial part
I agree.
of any deal that you're going to get into, regardless of whether it's in real estate, regardless of what industry it's in. Your rapport and your understanding of what it is that person is looking for and facing at the moment is going to make or break any deal, because you close the deal from the start. The closing doesn't start at the end, and that's where people make the mistake. They wait until the end to try and close, and then that's when the friction comes between you and the buyer, you and the consumer, whatever it may be. But what people need to change in their mindsets is you're closing from the start. That rapport is what's going to separate you from everyone else, because you need to understand, especially in real estate, they're not dealing with just you. They will sit there and they can tell you, yeah, I'm just dealing with you. I'm only looking with you. I'm going to buy through you. Great. I'd love to take your word for it, but the reality is I know you're lying. And that is where it comes down to. Your rapport is going to push you at the start, and then it's going to come down into knowledge, and then it's going to come down into your positioning from the rapport that you've got, from the understandings of their situation, what they're looking to do, how you can then progress that to close it. So I'd say that's one of the biggest things now, is getting people to understand that the close starts from the beginning. It doesn't start from the end.
Yeah. And that's what I feel like as well. Like, you know, we mainly, well, besides consulting, we mainly implement our service as well, where we do ads, we run meta ads, we generate leads, we look at the whole process in terms of, okay, how do these leads go into the CRM? How do you manage the CRM? How do you follow up with leads, right? We do this for clients.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we schedule a call, that's also what they expect. Oh, we do everything. We schedule the call, and then, on the call, the lead is good or not good, you know? But it doesn't really make any sense. Us scheduling a call is an opportunity to build a relationship. Yeah. It's an opportunity to build rapport. It's not, okay, someone's going to sit there and say yes or no to buying the property.
Exactly.
And that's really, wrong expectation of how it would actually work. It's not lead qualified, yes or no. It's the whole process of building that rapport.
And if it was that easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes, especially when it comes down to working with companies like yourself. Your job is to get people through the door that have interest. As to what point of interest they're in, that is your job as a broker now to find out. You know, you're not there to close the deals necessarily for them. You can, exactly. But, you know, your focus for this is to make sure that you're getting the right people through the door. Their job is making sure that they follow the right systems in order to get them to the end result that needs to be there. Because the reality is, most of the people that are coming through, if they don't close them, they're going to probably close somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yes, you're never going to get 100% accuracy on everyone that comes through will eventually close.
Yeah.
Like, if that was life, then it'd be a dream.
Yeah.
But I think, again, coming back to the understanding of, okay, when that lead comes in, your job is to purely find out what it is that has drawn them in the first place. Because again, are they in the discovery stage where they are just exploring? And again, that doesn't mean it's a bad lead. And I think that's, again, one of the biggest problems is they're early in the search. Oh, it's a bad lead, I'm going to leave it.
Yeah.
No, that's a great lead, because that's someone that you can take from the start to the end. And if you actually go with them on that journey of start to end, you're not going to have an issue when it comes down to the end of closing them, because they can sit there and comfortably say that you have been there from the start, guiding them, advising them on what they need to do and why they should do it for it to be able to work long term. Yeah. Whereas people go, okay, just discovering, fine, look, I'll just send you a bit of information on whatever. Yeah. Take a look over it in your own time and I'll catch up with you in 3 months, 6 months. And it's just like, okay, but in those 3 to 6 months, how many other agents have they spoke to now who have given them the time of day, who have been able to sit there, guide them through the process? And again, if they're that early on, are they even aware of the process of how it works when it comes down to buying? Because they might know what they're after, but what they're looking for is, okay, well, I'm new to this market. Like, what are the regulations behind me buying? What's the process to me buying? Because otherwise you've just got someone sat there who's going, yeah, you should buy this because it works on the cash flow side of things. It works on the equity side of things. It fits your investment strategy. Okay, great. But how do they go about that? What does the next steps look like? And again, I think that's a big thing. It's being able to put the structure in place from the start so they know each milestone that they're going to be hitting along the way. Yeah. Whereas most people just go into it with one clear goal of, well, yeah, let's just close them. Mm-hmm. But how? Yeah.
I think people underestimate how long the sales cycle can actually be in real estate.
Correct.
Right? And it's like, oh, what you said, it's a bad lead. No, it's someone that's in the orientation phase. Yeah. And it's your job to make sure that when they buy with you. Yeah. Right? And that is also the reason why a lot of real estate companies don't grow as big. They see it as this whole short-term thing. The thing that I always say is like, how long you want to continue in this business for? Like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? And they say, yeah, well, I want to continue until I retire. Well, okay, how many years is that? Well, that's like 30 years. Okay, so you have time. So what if you, with every lead that you get in, you approach it like, somewhere in the next years they're going to buy and I'm going to build this relationship. That would massively change your business. Yeah. We've had clients in a span of 6 months lose like 10 to 15 million in transactions after we've sent them through, right? Because our team called them back and we literally said like, hey, you're still interested in buying a property? He's like, yeah, I already bought with someone else. And that totaled up to like 10 to 15 million. Which is like, I don't know, 500K in commissions.
And that's it. Yeah. It's the period of understanding where, like I said to you the other day, when it comes down to new people coming in, they will never, ever, ever receive a fresh lead.
Yeah.
Not until they prove themselves.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you give people the opportunity at the start, and again, this was a conversation that I was having yesterday, and that's how we got onto the story of the new guy. If you give people the opportunity to burn the fresh new leads, then you're costing yourself more than you're ever going to make yourself. Because the reality is, why are we looking at this from a perspective of, okay, we're going to put the freshest leads in front of someone who has no idea how the process works or has any understanding on the market, for them to sit there, lose the deal, and then one of our experienced brokers later down the line to re-engage with them, or for you to re-engage with them, for them to turn around and go, yeah, we did buy in the end, because they've not done it from the start. Yeah. And that's why I always say the best thing to do when it comes down to new joiners is give them the unanswered leads. Give them the leads that said they weren't looking 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. And as much as, yes, you are essentially just going to be siphoning through the shit.
Yeah.
It is the best way to learn, because when it comes down to the objection handles, you will get more objections out of them than you will anyone else. Yeah. So when it comes down to dealing with the good leads, you already know the responses to expect, but also it gives them fair enough opportunity, because if they weren't looking 3 months ago, they might be hot now. Yeah. This is where you can actually step in. And again, when you're new, go through the learning process, go through the buying process with them. So you now get a better understanding, but they also can feel like they've actually been looked after. Because again, for me, the first deal that I did, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Didn't have a clue. I'd been in Dubai 3 weeks, never been to Dubai before. Didn't know how the market works. Obviously, you have training. Yeah. Again, one of the biggest issues when it comes down to training is what they're actually teaching you.
Yeah.
And that is one pet peeve. And that's why I ended up going down the training side of things, because I realized the biggest thing when it comes down to real estate training is they sit you in a boardroom for a week and they talk to you about the regulations. They talk to you about you know, all the government entities, all of this. And yes, okay, it's important to understand. What they don't teach you how to do is how to actually generate business and how to progress business and how to close business.
Yeah.
That is your job. Yeah. So why are we learning about the rest of it? Yes, it has to be said. I understand that. But the biggest gap for me that I see across all brokerages is no one's actually taking the time to give them the step-by-step guide of, right, this is how we're going to start, this is what we're going to aim for, and this is where we're going to end. And when you give them that level of hand-holding, one, it reveals two things: who's going to make it and who's not. If they can't follow simple instruction, they can't follow simple tasks, they can't mentally deal with the rejection within the first week, first 2 weeks, do yourself a favor, get rid of them. Yeah. Because it's not gonna change overnight. And again, a lot of people, especially in Dubai where you're on commission only, a lot of people come out with the mindset of, I'm going to make loads of money because I know someone else who's made loads of money in the past. And again, that's one of the problems. It's a matter of, I know someone who knows someone who knows someone who's done really well, so I'm going to give it a go. Yeah. The mindset of give it a go doesn't work.
I agree.
It doesn't work whatsoever. So when you can give someone the step-by-step guide of, this is what we are going to do each day, this is what we're going to accomplish out of it, you follow this task word for word, step by step, it will work. Yeah. You will see very quickly who's gonna do well and who's gonna fail. And I don't think it takes a month, 2 months. And again, my responsibilities when it comes down to working with brokerages, I do have the authority to be able to get rid of people. Yeah. Because they trust what I'm saying when it comes down to, I can see that this person might stay here for another 2-3 months, but they're not going to make anything out of it because they're too caught up on this or they're too caught up on that, which is just going to affect the actual service of, okay, remember, this is a long game. It's not about necessarily what business we can do today. It's about what business we can build for the future. Because like you say, if you focus purely on new leads, if you focus purely on getting the deal done today, next month, if you haven't closed anything this month, you're going to be doing the same thing next month. And you live the same, I always say, the starting 3 months of your career, if you don't do them properly, you will live the same 3 months every 3 months until the end of time, because all you're doing is chasing your tail. Yeah. What people don't understand is real estate is about pipeline. You need to have multiple things on the go, multiple things ready, so that whatever doesn't fall through, because again, there's no bulletproof formula to it. There's no 100% success rate, but there's certain things that you can follow, very basic things that enable people to go, okay, regardless of what I do this month, next month I know I've got this. Next month I know I've got this. And it's a matter of it's the compound effect.
Yeah.
You compound it each month and eventually it will get to exactly where you want it to be.
Yeah, 100%. And that's also where it goes wrong for 95% of agencies, right? They hire 20 agents and they can't even keep them accountable. Me and my business partner went to, I won't say the name, but we went to a big luxury real estate company in Madrid, and they have like 25 freelancers as agents, right? And well, we were asking them questions, seeing what were the problems, and the main problem was just pipeline and follow-up, which is always the same, right? But that's the core of making it in real estate.
Exactly.
And they said, but we can't do anything about it because they're all freelancers, right? And we can't really tell them what to do. I'm like, you can't tell them what to do, maybe in terms of the law, but you can certainly set standards for who you not contract in your business. And if they're not even following up with leads, if they're not even doing the things that are necessary, why would you hire them as freelancers in your business? And eventually they got stuck in their own story and their own limiting beliefs, and we're going to try something else, which I know for a fact that's not going to work, right? It's just a chaos in most real estate businesses. That's what I see. Yeah,
and I would agree. Like a lot of it just comes down to a lack of risk appetite. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the best examples of this is a company in Dubai, which is, for Dubai standards, fairly new, but they have grown ridiculously quick. And that is down to their risk appetite. The way that they pay it forward will always keep them above the rest of their competition. Not necessarily doing anything unique or special to be able to stand out, but more so the confidence or the false confidence when you're going in blind to be able to go, okay, I know that this investment, I know that taking this route when it comes to restructuring the company might cost me a lot in the short term, but in the long term, it's going to give me what I need to be able to take this to the next step. And again, I think the core part of a real estate business is your recruitment, because you can avoid so many costs if you have your recruitment down to a T. And then second to recruitment, it's your onboarding, but also your management throughout. Because again, just because someone's been there for a year, just because someone's been there for 2 years, that's great. They've kept their head above water, which is what you want, especially at the start. And again, it doesn't come overnight. Some people will just go head above water for 5 years before they eventually break big. Some people do it in 6 months before they break big. So it's having the understanding of, one, like you say, the accountability. Even if you're working with freelancers, what accountability is in place? Because, yes, they're not necessarily working for you, but they are working with you, which still involves accountability to what needs to be done. What is the necessary standard of, okay, when we come in, we do this. That's a non-negotiable. You need to hit X amount of KPIs a day. Yes, there's a level of freedom, hence why they're doing freelance. Yeah. But then my arguments to them would be, well, why don't you just get rid of all the freelancers and get full-time in? Yeah. Because evidently it's not working. So unless you can see the shift starting to change because you've knuckled down and gone, right, this is our standard. If you don't follow it, we are going to have to let you go. Yeah. Short term, yes, it's going to cost you. Long term, no, it's going to work massively.
And that's literally what we move more and more towards within Lead Estate, our company as well. We've been really focusing inside of our own company to consistently increase the standards. Yeah. No one's ever late. And if they're late, they're going to hear it, right? We try to make the highest quality content, highest quality website. We try to make as much impact on the clients. We have standards. We always talk about commitments and targets. Commitments is a non-negotiable. Yeah. Targets is something that we're going to reach for. And then in our business, we reverse engineer everything based on that target. Yeah. And then we literally break down, okay, what action steps everyone needs to do every day. And the biggest reason for real estate agencies and developers for not, well, getting where they want to be, what we've realized just from doing this ourselves is a lack of standards.
Yeah.
Right? It's literally the last step in our growth formula that we talked about. It's high standards. And somewhere in the process, somewhere in your business, you're still accepting low standards from your team, which in return is accepting low standards from yourself.
Yeah.
In the end, if you accept that your team is not following up with leads and not updating the CRM system, then you accept that this is normal behavior in your company and that it is normal in the culture of your company to not follow up with leads. If you don't enforce those standards by keeping them accountable. And that's the single biggest problem in why real estate agencies are not making it.
Yeah, and I think the art of the follow-up is probably the make or break when it comes down to your breakout.
Yeah.
Because again, if we look at some examples that I've seen myself, there's been clients on one of the last agencies that I was working at. There was the system they had, the CRM they had, amazing. The way that it was run, the way that it was put together, the segments that were in it, it was literally a cheat sheet to be able to make money as quickly as possible. And I think one of the biggest things that I took out of that with them was the art of the follow-up will make you more money than the fresh stuff. Purely down to the fact that we were having a conversation with some of the new joiners, and I'd set them a specific task, and I just said to them, today I want you to purely focus on this section of the CRM. And again, it was the old leads, and I want you to go through. You can see every single agent's notes that has ever contacted them. There were leads on there that had been on there for a year, 2 years. Okay, there were leads on there that had just not been contacted in 3 months. And there was one client, one of their brokers came to me and said, look, Lucas, I'm not getting anything out of this. This is a complete waste of time. Okay, fine. Let's prove that theory wrong. So I jump onto the CRM, jump into that section. Again, you need to be able to take the initiative to think for yourself. I didn't state this, and I don't state this for a reason. You can see their name, their number, their email. You can see every single requirement that they filled out on that ad campaign. So you have a rough idea of who it is you're dealing with. There was a name, there was an email, and there was a keyword in that email, which as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is absurd amounts of money. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what the keyword was, I'll tell you later. But when I saw it, I was like, okay, that's a hot client. He'd been on the system for 9 months, okay? He'd been spoke to maybe 2-3 times, every single time, saying no, busy in a meeting, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. That's someone that I want to speak to. So I call the client up, have a brief conversation. Again, look, I'm not buying anything at the moment. Great. Pivot the conversation. And again, what people don't understand is, especially when it comes down to real estate, there's always a way to make money. Whether it's through referral schemes of currencies, through mortgages, through conveyancing, whatever it may be, through renting a property they've got, through selling a property they've already got. Just because they're not buying something, it doesn't mean there's not money to be made. And especially in Dubai, having a brokerage isn't a high margin business. And I think a lot of people get this wrong. And especially when it comes down to brokers, their attitude a lot of the times is, okay, well, let's look at how much commission has been made this month. And it's like, okay, let's say they did 100 million in commission. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, yeah, but they've just made 100 million this month. Okay, let's bear this in mind, okay? They now have to split with the brokers. Okay, so that's already 50% minimum wiped out. Now again, for the bigger deals, for the larger deals, they're normally with more experienced brokers. Let's say one of those experienced brokers is on 70%. So now we're only working with 30% of what we've actually made. Okay, then we have to factor in portal costs, then we have to factor in the admin costs, then we have to factor in the office running costs, then we have to factor in other miscellaneous costs, then we have to factor in all the other staff. So when you look at it, you're not making, as a brokerage, the most money from the brokering. From a revenue perspective, yes, that's where all the large portion of your revenue is coming from. Yeah. If you're looking from a margins perspective, you're making more on the upsells, on the referrals. So this client answered, not buying anything. not interested at the moment, great. Pivot the conversation to, look, well, I was actually just here to give you an update on what's going on in the market currently. Yeah, well, no, I'm not interested in that either. Okay, fine. Well, let me just ask you, how's your portfolio performing? Well, where? Well, your Dubai portfolio. Okay, first of all, first green flag, where? If someone has to ask you which portfolio they're talking about, you're on the phone with someone who has an international portfolio. Off the back of that, he had multiple units like across Dubai, but very, very high-end units. So out of that, he was actually liquidating because his business is currently going through some slight problems. He's liquidating his property portfolio on the high-end stuff. So that's 5 referrals that I then just distributed to someone else that were plucked out of thin air. Why? Because when it comes down to running through the shit tasks, pick the shit. Pick the things that are actually going to cause you to have a better outcome long term. As much as he might not be buying anything today, he is selling. Now, when he sells, I know that he's now got cash. So whether he's going to put that back into his business, which in this case, he most definitely was, okay, in the next few months, you've assisted him, you've started that relationship, you've added value to him, you roughly know where he's at in terms of not necessarily his finances, but with his portfolio and what he's looking for because of what he's had. That's someone that next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, doesn't matter, you know as a seasoned investor that we can do more business with. But people just look at it so short term as, well, he said he's not buying.
Yeah.
Amazing. But is there any particular reason as to why he's not buying? You find out the reason, all of a sudden, and we know, okay, right, that's the objection at hand. And I always say objections are a smokescreen. No isn't no. You need to find out what they are saying no to. And again, it's when it comes down to opening cold calls. I say to everyone, for example, if we talk about off-plan in Dubai, when it comes down to your off-plan in Dubai, a lot of people just call up generically, are you looking to buy any off-plan projects in Dubai? Okay, go in with something specific. The more specific you can be, the better. Okay, I don't want to say the names, but okay, there's a new launch by X developer in X community starting at X, Y, and Z. Okay, is that something you'd be interested in? No. Okay, and is that down to the area or is that down to the developer? You don't end the call there.
Yeah.
Now this is where you actually start to understand, because it could be the fact that they've had a bad experience with that developer in the past. Great, find out about that. Find out what they did instead. Okay, no, it's this area. Okay, well, just so I can understand, what is your strategy when it comes down to investments? Oh, I prefer more cash flow. I'm not fussed about equity. Okay, great. Then we need to look at a different area that's going to have higher cash flow as opposed to an equity building area. Great. So all those no's stem from is something that we need to identify. And if that is finances, so be it. But it doesn't mean we leave them in the dark and we just let them sit and rot. Find out if that could be changing in the next 6 months, the next 12 months. What is it that we are trying to get out of them now? And I always say it's just the 1% rule, 1% each day. If you can get something out of them that gives you some bit of ammunition that you can use against them later down the line, then that's all you need. Because that one bit of rapport that I've taken out of them from a no, next time I call them, I can go straight in. They've probably not saved my number. I can go straight in. Last time we spoke, you said X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, yeah. How are you?
Yeah.
Good, thanks. Now you can move on.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We had a podcast a few weeks ago with Francisco of Point Blank in Madrid. He works with family offices, etc. And he basically said, like, most real estate agencies, he comes from an architectural background, right? Okay. So a lot of passion for the buildings, etc. And he basically said, well, most agents sell you what they have instead of what you need, right? And this ties into that a little bit as well, because what most real estate agencies or agents do, they sell you or try to sell you, okay, these are the properties we have, or hey, do you want to buy anything, right? No, okay, buy, right?
And then you're left in the dark.
Exactly, and it's really interesting what your take on this is you really want to, when you call someone, you want to really help them with anything, right? So of course, it's related to the real estate market, but you want to see, okay, why are they not buying? Why are they not selling? Are they selling? Maybe they're renovating. I don't know, right? It could be so many things, and if you would be able to give them that little bit of value, that's where you make impact on them. Yeah. And what no one is doing is trying to say, okay, from this conversation, how can I make impact on this person? How can I give value to this person so that this person will remember me along the line? No, we're always focusing on making a transaction now. Well, of course you feel like you're bothering them.
Yeah.
You know, when we call leads, I get more for our clients. I get more often than not, I hear, oh, thank you for calling me, because most real estate agents don't call me back. Or thank you for calling me, because most real estate agents, they just trying to sell me. And then on the other hand, I hear a lot of real estate agents say, yeah, but I don't want to bother them. The reason why you feel like you're bothering them is because deep down you know you're trying to get something from them. You're trying to sell them, right? It's not even, oh, you position yourself in a way that it doesn't look like you're selling them something. No, it's something inside, you know?
Exactly.
So you can say whatever you want, but people feel when you're trying to sell them something.
It's the value add.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes down to the cold call training that I do, the most important thing I always stress is it's your value add. You can't be going into a call just pitch. You're going to get nothing out of it. It's basic human nature. Give and take.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to get a better response out of you if I can give you some sort of value, give you some sort of insight that is going to benefit you. So then when I do ask you a question that is now going to benefit me, you're more inclined to answer it. So what a lot of people come up with a mistake of is just going straight in, like we say, with the pitch. No value to it. It's just, I've got this, I need to sell this, I've been told that I need to get rid of this, you should buy this. But why? What do you actually understand about them? And this is why I say, like, the start, that rapport stage, is going to make or break that close later down the line.
Yeah.
Because as much as, again, you could have the best pitch in the world, and I always say, like, you should never pitch. Everything should be a conversation. That's the way you need to look at sales. It is conversation, and the conversation is problem solution. If we don't know their problems, if we don't know their strategy, if we don't understand what it is that they're trying to achieve, we can't present them the right solution. And again, even if it comes down to the fact of your pitch is amazing, this is the best product in the world, it might not work for them. But if you have an understanding of what it is they're looking for, what it is they're trying to achieve, what problems they're facing at the moment, and we can even remotely try and solve or pivot, you've got more chance of selling them what you actually want to sell them as opposed to what they exactly want. Because again, people forget they're here as an advisor. Like, their job is to make sure that people understand the market and understand what it is that they're getting themselves into. So when it comes down to, well, you should buy this because it's in a good location and price per square foot's good and you know it's good quality. Yeah. Okay, great, but what relevance does that have to what they're trying to achieve out of it? And that's where your value comes from. Your value comes from understanding. So it's go blind with value, give them something, give them enough to be able to take a nibble on, and then out of that, that's where you can start pivoting, getting their pain points, and then you can start targeting the pain points with actual value.
Yeah, it's first understanding what they want and what they're actually looking for.
Correct.
But maybe, yes, they ask some questions, right? Hey, what are you looking for? What do you want? And then they say, okay, I have this.
Yeah.
But it's not about, hey, understanding them, asking the questions and know what they want. It's understanding what they want and why they want it.
Exactly.
Then looking at the things that you have to offer and connect it to why they want it, right? It's basically, hey, oh, you want this? I have this. Exactly. Instead of going a layer deeper as into the why, right? As into your philosophy as a business, your philosophy on the real estate market, and why that ties into their situation, you know? And that makes it a whole different conversation instead of just presenting something. I think most agents are presenting, you know? They're not connecting. They're not really, really making an impact.
Even when it comes down to brief conversations on the phone. Yeah, for sure. Just send me the brochures over. Okay. But we both know I'm going to send you the brochure over and not hear anything about it. Okay. Now, when it comes down to sending brochures over, you can instantly disqualify someone on whether they're actually going to take a look at this or whether they're actually going to respond after you send it. Yeah. Because if I can sit there and someone goes to me, send the brochure over, sure, what is it in particular that you actually want to see in the brochure? Because again, Dubai-wise, your brochures from developers are very much just pictures and telling a story of the lifestyles. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be renders. It's going to be a picture of a woman walking through a cornfield, talking about lifestyle and greenery and all of this. And it's like, what influence is that going to have on you purchasing? It's not. So let's actually understand what information you want. Is it to do with the payment plan? Okay, then finance is a concern of yours. So that's a conversation that we need to have when we next speak. Is it to do with the developer's track record? Because again, I don't know, the area sounds good. Yeah, I know the area. I haven't heard of the developer. Okay, well, instead of me sending you the brochure over of this, which has just been launched, why don't we look at what they've previously done to see if it would be something that's a good fit? And then potentially you can go and see some of the developments they've done in the past. Little things like that, you will see drastically change and also help you understand the follow-up. Because if you don't know what you're following up for, it's a matter of you call them again. Did you take a look over the brochure? No. Okay, are you going to take a look over it? Yeah, I'll take a look over it tomorrow, next week, whatever. And again, one of the biggest things that I found is when people say, having a look over the brochures, whatever. Great, understand what they want to see in that brochure, send them the correct things. Out the back of that, the biggest thing that annoys me is when they go, yeah, I've got a call back with them. It's Thursday today. I've got a call back with them on Thursday. Okay, interesting. How long does it take you to, I say read, there's not many words in brochures. How long does it take you to look for a picture book that's maybe 15 pages long? Does it take a full week or does it take a matter of hours? Now, yes, depending when we're calling them, could be at work, could be out of the country. If they're out of the country, even better. If they're on holiday, even better. Okay, you're doing nothing. You're relaxing. So you're going to be on your phone. You're going to be taking a look through it. Do you need a call back in a week? Maybe down to the fact that you actually want to relax. You don't want to do business right now. Fine. That's a justifiable excuse. But when it comes down to it's just your everyday person, okay, well, how long does it take to look over a brochure? Considering there's not heaps in there for you to actually look over. At that point, what's the likelihood you think, one, they're going to remember you, and two, they're going to answer your call next week? They're not. And again, it's one of the biggest mistakes, and you would have seen it firsthand as well.
Yeah.
When new brokers come in and they go, oh yeah, they said call me back tomorrow or call me back in 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but what did you give them on the call? Oh, nothing. They just said they were busy and call me back in 3 hours. Okay. Good luck getting an answer to that one.
Yeah.
Again, and that's where the value proposition comes in.
Yeah.
That's where the understanding of what this call is going to be about. Yeah. And that's where, take it back to the start, taking the step-by-step process, actually guiding through. Do they understand what the next call is going to be about? Is it going to be a question answer? Okay, you've reviewed the brochure. Any questions that you come up with, anything that you're uncertain on, just, we can go through that on the next call. Because one of the biggest things that I've always found is people always try and feel like they're being pushed when it comes down to that next call. Because again, it is progression and every call is in somewhat progression. Whether it's understanding that, yes, that isn't going to work for you, great, that's progression. Because again, I always say, instead of qualifying, disqualify. The more you can understand about what they don't want, the easier it's going to be to find what they want. So use disqualification as opposed to qualification to find out, right, this is what's going to be perfect for you. So I think that's going to be probably a key takeaway is when it comes down to your follow-ups, what are you following up for? Do they understand what that follow-up is going to be about? And where is that follow-up going to lead? Because if they feel like the next follow-up for them is, come down to the sales center, put an EOI forward, put a deposit down, that's where they all of a sudden go cold on you for the next 6 weeks, 3 months, six months.
Yeah, and to refer back to something you said at the start, like, because this happens all the time, like, there's a lot of money and time to be lost, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned mainly that real estate agencies, our brokers are losing so much money on, training unexperienced people, like giving them enough time, basically teaching them everything, and it's not only that they lose money, it's the time. I think the biggest reason, or one of the biggest reasons why real estate agencies are just not hitting their targets is all the time that is lost.
Yeah.
And I understand it because it's a long-term sales cycle. You have this like 50K commission staring you in the face, and you only get paid when you actually sell the deal.
Exactly.
Right? However, there's so many window shoppers in real estate, right? And you need to be able to filter them out, because you're losing so much time. And then if you have 20 agents, they are all losing so much time. And then you are training them, which makes you lose even more time.
Yeah.
And the time lost is one of the biggest reasons that I see is a big problem.
I think that's why, when it comes down to, like we said, recruitment is going to be your biggest thing. Yeah. Like, your recruitment cycle and your recruitment process needs to be bulletproof to save you time and money. And then when it comes down to the training, like that training, that initial week, that initial 2 weeks, that ongoing support that they need to receive needs to be able to solve the problems at hand. Because again, one of my biggest things is, when it comes down to training, when it comes down to consulting, there's no preset formula, because every single business, every single person is facing a different problem.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to do a training session with 20 people, okay, and I've got a preset, today we're going to go over this. Okay. My question is, how many people are actually facing this problem currently? Now, the answer out of those 20 is probably maybe 1 or 2, which is why when it comes down to the training sessions, it's like, right, don't go into it with a set task unless there's clear data backing that everyone seems to be struggling with it. Go into it with what's at hand now, because again, we talk about time. If I solve that problem 3 months after that person has dealt with it, what have we done for the last 3 months? My ideology to training is, what problems are we actually facing today that we can solve, which is going to make us money today?
Yeah.
Because as much as, yes, we want to future-proof ourselves to a degree, we also need to look at the element of time, okay? Agents haven't got time on their side, especially in Dubai, because they're commission only. So time is against them. And we always like to say, you've got 3 months before you leave. Not because you're not going to make any money, because if you don't make money in 3 months, okay, regardless of what's going well, and there's an element of luck to real estate, and this is what I always try and press on. Someone can do everything right, but they just don't get to speak to the right person at the right time. And it's that one call that they don't do. It's the one call where they forgot to follow them up. Yeah. It's the one call that is going to make them money.
It's all in the details.
And that's why that 3 month window to me is always, you're just mentally going to log off if you don't make money in 3 months. Now, that's someone that you can try and take the risk on. That's someone that you don't need to get rid of, because if they're doing everything right, it's a matter of time before it works. Yeah. And there's multiple examples where some people haven't done anything for like 6 months, and then all of a sudden it just dominoes. You just see deal after deal after deal after deal. Why? Because they've understood pipeline.
Yeah.
They've understood that the time that they're spending now is going to pay them back in the future. But to the average person, that 3 months, you're going to either run out of money, or mentally you're just not going to be able to cope with the level of rejection and all the bullshit that you have to deal with on a daily basis. And that is where people switch off. So when it comes down to your training, your initial training, what does that look like? What does your onboarding process look like? What are they actually getting out of it when it comes down to the ability to be able to help them to do the job? When it starts, who is actually monitoring them? How are they being monitored? What are they being tracked off that you can then reference to people who have come in the past and done extremely well? And that's one of the biggest things I always look for in businesses. It's like, okay, let's find your best broker. What do their stats look like now? Great. What did their stats look like at the start? That's who we're going to reference, because that's who we want to be. Why are we going to reference someone who is doing all right? We want people to come in and be the best. Great. You know, at the end of the day, not everyone can be the best, but we'll try and get them there. Again, on the flip side, we have someone who lasted 2 weeks. We have someone who lasted 2 months. We have someone who lasted a month. What do their stats look like? What did their stats look like just before they left? And you'll notice the difference when you compare those stats, and you can sit down with someone, put 2 sheets of paper in front of them and go, okay, so here's 2 blank sheets. This one, you can see X amount of calls, X amount of viewings, X amount of meetings, X amount of X, Y, and Z. This one, again, X amount of meetings, X amounts of viewings, X amounts of calls. Okay. Which one looks the best to you? Okay, this one. Okay, and which one looks most like your numbers? That one. Okay. Do you know who that person is? No, because they're no longer here. Do you know who this is? That person over there. Okay. Look at what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. They're in the position where they can take a step back. And this is the biggest thing as well. It's like, hats off to some people who have been in the industry for 10, 15, 20 years. Mm-hmm. It's draining. It's a draining industry. Mentally, physically, it is draining, and your life revolves around it. And I think that's what a lot of people get wrong. This isn't a day job. Your life is now committed to real estate. If you want to become successful in real estate, you need to commit every waking moment to that job. And out the back of that, they go two ways. They either carry on being the person who's not going to be here in 2 months, which at that point you can already cut them out early because you know which route they're going to go down. And if they take the pivot and they turn around, then you know that they actually stand the chance of doing well. So that's one of the biggest things I'd say is always look back at your data of who's done well and who hasn't. Compare it to their data. Yeah. Give them the wake up call of, this is the route you're going to go down if you carry on. This is the route you can go down if you make that change.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah. I think the best thing about what we're talking about now is that we have barely talked about what to say, right? Yeah. And that is the biggest thing. Like, everyone focuses on what to say. Again, what the legislation is, and they get 20 people in a room and they just speak to them, and they get overwhelmed with all the information on sales, but on legislation and on real estate in general, and they just get overwhelmed and they don't really learn anything, right? And they always focus on, okay, what should I say? Oh, let's look at Claude, right? Like, what is the best way of talking to this person, of what is the best way to reach out, instead of doing what you need to do, and that's reach out in the first place.
That's one of the biggest things. Like, procrastination is the biggest killer. And this is why I always say to people, especially at the start, you know, let's say we did a week of training, pure training. I'll give you a step-by-step formula. I will give you a word-for-word script to use. Again, I don't do scripts, but I'll give you a word for word in each scenario of what we can say and how we can pivot. Okay, when you get onto the floor, that's when it dawns on you, fuck, I've now actually got to do the job.
Yeah.
And again, the biggest thing I always say is you want to fuck up as much as possible. Like, you want to be hung up on, you want to make mistakes, you want to tell people the wrong information at the start, because that is the quickest way to learn. If you try and come up with a perfect formula, I can promise you it does not exist. It does not exist. Every conversation is different to a degree. Who you're dealing with, who you're speaking to, when you're speaking with them. There's no right time to call. That's what I always say, because people will go, oh, well, it's the morning, people aren't going to answer. Okay, when are they going to answer? Maybe at lunchtime. Okay, when's his lunchtime? I don't know, like 12:1. Right, so you don't even know. There's no correct formula to it. You just have to, in essence, at the start especially, your volume is your biggest friend. Because the more we can understand, the more we can get out of the way at the start, the more confident we can get, because now we've actually got the answers. And again, it's like when it comes down to objection handling, understand how to pivot. When it comes down to the objections, there's unlimited amount of objections that could be thrown at you. We can't sit here all day and go through every single objection that's going to be thrown at you. Do the call. Try and handle it yourself. Once you've done that, come back to me. Go back to someone. Go to your manager. Go to the person next to you. They said this to me. What should I have said next time? Great, this. Right, that's now solved. On to the next. This person now said this. Okay, great. That's now solved. On to the next. And eventually you just build up that database of, right, what is right and what is wrong. And again, one of the biggest things I always try and push on is everyone's style is different. Everyone's version of sales is very different. The core thing that needs to be taught is structure. What do the structures of the calls look like? What do the structure of the deals look like? What does the structure of signing a deal look like? What does the structure of the opening look like? Out the back of that, make it work for you. Because the way that I sell compared to some people is very different. And it comes down to personality, tonality, confidence, knowledge. And that's going to separate people massively. So it's understand the structures that we need to follow in order to get the desired results, but do it in a way that fits you. Don't try and use someone else's sales tactics. Don't try and use someone else's pitch, because it's not going to work for you. You need to find your own pitch. You just need to focus on what the structure looks like to be able to build that out.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And yeah, to go back to what I said now, you mentioned it's all about the structure, right? Yeah. You mentioned it's all about the team management. It's all about the hiring process. Yeah. It's all about doing the work. It's all about the follow-up. but still we haven't said a word on what to say, you know, because you will learn that yourself.
Yeah.
What to say is, I believe, more connected to your personality, and again, you cannot use someone else's words or scripts because it won't fit them, right? And the biggest reason why I see clients of ours or real estate agencies and developers in general fail with sales is it's simply because of the structure. It's simply because they haven't had the systems in place. They don't have the processes in place. They don't have the accountability in place. It's never what to say, right? And that's so interesting because probably a lot of people tuning into this podcast are thinking, okay, I'm going to hear the perfect line, or I'm going to hear the perfect thing on what to say. And then we're going to talk about, okay, no, it's actually you. That's the problem. It's actually you and the way you structure your business. It's actually the way that you take responsibility and ownership over your business, take responsibility and ownership over your sales team, right? That's the biggest thing. And I think that's the most interesting part about this conversation.
And one thing I will say straight to the camera, there is no perfect line. There is no perfect words. It is down to what works for you. There is perfect structure, and you need to build off that structure. And that is the formula. Yeah. It's all about systems. It's all about structure. It's all about what you are planning out each day. It's not about what you're saying, because every conversation is going to be different in some way. You're dealing with different nationalities. You're dealing with different time zones. You're dealing with different personality types. How can you put that into one sentence? How can you put that into one specific script? You can't. It's being able to adapt over what we need to hit in each call. Yeah. And I think that's where your biggest fall comes from.
Yeah. And being able to adapt is basically, well, it's experience, of course. Yeah. And experience comes from doing the numbers, which is taking action, right? So that's, first of all, very, very important. However, I want to get back to a little bit about the objection handling, because you mentioned you're always going to get objections, right? So can you tell me a little bit about your biggest lessons in objection handling, and what biggest lessons you can give to the viewers?
I would say the reality is, when it comes down to real estate, your biggest objection is always just going to be a straight up no. And it's like we touched on. When it comes down to that no, you need to just identify what they're saying no to, because that's their objection. No one will sit there, if I call someone and go, yeah, no, sorry, I'm not interested because I'm not keen on the developer. I think the price per square foot is too high, and I'm not a fan of the location because I think it's currently saturated. If that was the case, great, I've just had all the objections. The root of objection handling when it comes to real estate is you will never actually get the clear objection. It will always be a no to something. And again, let's talk about offers. Okay, we take a client out. We go and show them a few different projects. We go and show them a few different things that are built already, whatever it may be. Okay. At that point, and this is again where a lot of people fuck up, is at the end of every viewing, I always say you need to leave that viewing with one of two things. Either an offer, okay, or a reason as to why they haven't offered. Because that's your objection. And again, it's the rejection that you're going to get is what you need to become comfortable with. So if I can sit there at the end of the viewing, we've looked around, right, fantastic, what are your thoughts on the property? Yeah, I like this, great. Again, I'm starting to uncover what's going to be bad. Okay, and is there anything in particular that you're not happy with? Yes, this. Okay, right. Again, when it comes down to disqualification, I know that these 3, 4, 2, 1, whatever it may be, things are what your concerns are. So at that point, it's a matter of, okay, well, with that in mind, how much would you like to offer for this? Again, you're going to find two things from this. One, they're either not in the position to pull the trigger, okay? Because whether someone likes it or someone doesn't like it, people will buy anything if they see fit. If the price is right, people will pay. And that's why it's a matter of, even if it's not something you actually want to pull the trigger on, what realistically would you pay for this? Let's start getting people comfortable in the process of actually putting things out there. Because again, when it comes down to the right property, and we talk about putting an offer forward, it's, I need to go home and think about it. Okay. And what are your concerns when it comes down to putting an offer forward? Because realistically, we both know the offers don't get accepted straight away. there's negotiation involved. But I like to say, regardless of what viewing we're on, get an understanding of where their head's at in terms of their purchasing position. How ready are they to pull the trigger on something, if they are ready at all? Because again, if someone can offer on something that they don't actually like, even if the offer is ridiculous, it shows that they're willing to actually start making the move on something because they're ready.
Yeah.
So at that point, I know that I'm dealing with someone. It's a matter of now finding out, okay, they don't like this. I've got another one that potentially has this. And again, when it comes to that qualification stage at the start, it's important to understand what are 3 things that are like a non-negotiable, or what's 2 things or 1 thing that is a non-negotiable. Out of those, let's say we can get a list of 3. If we can get 2, which one would you be willing to sacrifice? Because I look at real estate as you can, and this is why I say the rapport is the most important. You can handle all objections if you build rapport and qualify properly. There shouldn't be any objections, because it's just about actually uncovering what it is that we are looking for. So they're saying, no, I'm not interested in that project. Okay. And is that because you've had a bad experience with the developer in the past, or is that because the location doesn't suit for you? Yeah, I'm just not looking in that location. Okay. When it comes down to what it is that you're looking for strategy-wise, are you looking for something that's going to be ROI-based, or are you going to be looking for something that's going to be growing over the next 5 to 10 years? Actually, more importantly, how long do you even plan on holding this property for? Because at that point, it's like, I'm just drip feeding all the information that I need to be able to solve what it is that we are going to buy in the end. And when you can uncover things, again, it's not pitching, it's conversation.
Yeah.
It's a matter of, it's the analogy of going to the doctors, okay? If I go to the doctors and I just say, I feel sick, can you give me some medicine to sort me out? No doctor's going to sit there and go, yeah, take this. Okay. It's the understanding, it's the qualification. Okay. Well, have you got any pains anywhere? Okay. When did this come along? Okay. Is there something in particular that you've eaten or done over the last few days that could have potentially caused that? They qualify you to understand what they need to give you. Real estate is exactly the same. Exactly the same. I need to understand your position, your strategy, your timeline to be able to advise you the best. Because you might come in telling me, I want this specific location, this size, this. But when we actually start diving into your strategy, when we start diving into what you're looking to achieve out of this, how long you're looking at holding it, well, to me as the expert, I think you're looking at this wrong. Well, why? Don't be afraid to challenge people on what it is they're saying, because you are there to advise. So advise. Don't be a yes man. Don't sit there and just go, yes, whatever you want. Challenge it. How deeply have they actually thought about this? Because again, that's going to help you uncover how far into their search they are. If they can sit there and black and white tell me that they want this because of this reason, this because of this reason, and this because of this reason, okay, then it's about finding them that. Yeah. But if they're skeptical on certain responses when it comes down to, strategies, timelines, what they're looking to achieve out of it, what they've currently got, what they've looked at in the past, why they didn't like certain things in the property, why they didn't make an offer on this, it's like, okay, well, I don't understand what it is that you're looking for, and you don't understand what it is you're looking for, so we need to strip it back. Yeah. Go back to stage 1. Don't be afraid to suddenly pull it back.
Yeah, I think it's very important what you said, like kind of intentionally break reports sometimes as well, right? Don't be afraid to challenge them. Yeah. And I do this myself as well. When it's actually true, don't just make something up. But people will respect you more and only trust you as their consultant when you break report as well. When you say, hey, look, I don't really think that's what you should be looking at. Yeah. I think based on what we've said, on what you said and what we've uncovered here, I think you should be looking at this more, And he's like, oh, then you can actually only make someone realize something by breaking report, Because if you're going to be the yes man, then they're just going to hear everything that they already think and already know, right? You kind of needs to switch their beliefs a little bit or make them realize it, right? And you can only do that by asking questions. Exactly. You can only do this by asking questions. And it's something that my business coach once told me, like, are you the question man or are you the answer man? And most real estate agents are the answer man or the answer woman, right? Instead of being the question man. And I think if in sales you already start doing that more by just asking the right questions, therefore getting the right information and actually understanding them, then coupling that with, well, what they actually need and what you have to offer, and then find out, okay, what in that specific thing, what in the properties that I have to offer, what connects with what they were saying.
Is get to the root.
Yeah.
That's what you always need to focus on.
Yeah.
Get to the root of the objection.
Yeah.
Every objection is going to be different, but there's going to be an underlying reason to each one. Your job is to uncover what specifically that underlying reason is, because no one's going to outright, like we said, sit there and say, I don't like it because of this, and I wouldn't do it because of this. It's just going to be a straight no. Yeah. Not interested. Okay. Interested in what? That's the key focus. What are we not interested in? Yeah. Is it the fact that we're not interested in buying at the moment, like that call that we spoke about? Or is it the fact that we're not interested in that specific developer? Is it the fact that we're not interested in that specific location? Again, no is not the end of the call. And that's one of the biggest things that I can push on. No does not mean no. You need to find out what that no is to.
Yeah.
And then you can pivot from there.
Yeah. And then you can use that information for next time, maybe in 3 months down the line, maybe in 6 months down the line, maybe in 2 years down the line.
Exactly.
Right? And I think that's also one of the most valuable things that you've said in this conversation. It's you need to build up that rapport. You need to build up your database, but actually build that connection with that database so that in 6 months' time, the deals will come. You know?
Exactly.
And if you focus on, okay, I need to close the deal now, if you focus only on sales, on selling the deal now, then you keep being in that same loop, right? Like you said. And that's very interesting because the deals that you're going to do 6 months from now, they're made now.
Exactly.
Right?
They're made today. And that's what people always forget.
Yeah.
The deals that are happening in 6 months, a year's time, they're not coming at the same time.
Yeah.
They're starting now. You just need to figure out who to spend your time on.
All right.
And one thing I would say is on what you said there, I like to call it commission breath. Okay. And it's a real thing. I can tell you it is a real thing. And it's when you can see, like you say, instead of actually going on the journey, going on the process, it's just the art of, I just need to sell this person. The buyers can smell it a mile away.
Yeah.
They know you are desperate for a deal because you aren't actually taking in anything. The biggest thing you can do in sales is listen. If you listen to what it is that the client is saying to you, you can give them the desired results. Until you listen, you are never going to be able to sell them on anything.
Yeah. So what do you exactly mean with commission breath?
So it's essentially just buyers can smell the fact that you're just trying to push a deal over the line. You're just trying to force sell people.
Yeah.
And it's just an odor that lingers around you because they know that you're not doing the job properly. And again, when it comes to experienced buyers, they're the ones who can sniff it out the best. They have been in the industry long enough.
Yeah.
They have worked with enough agents to understand what a good agent looks like and what a bad agent looks like. And that's why it's always, regardless of where you are in your career, you need to be acting like the top version of yourself, like the top agents that you're around. Because that person, regardless of how much you think you know about them, may have done this 100 times. So they will sniff out little things that come from what you say that will just eventually turn them away from the deal. Yeah. And you will lose the business based on that.
Yeah. Yeah, because they want to buy, right? Usually, if you talk to the right person, they want to buy something. Yeah. They want to buy the right property. So I always say it's, of course, your understanding of them first, what they're looking for. That, of course, it's the property, but it's also, okay, who are they buying from? They're buying you, right? They're buying you and the company, I would say, right?
Agreed.
They can get turned off by the company because of a bad experience. They won't work with either of the agents of that company. But in a way, they buy you. And I feel like that's what a lot of agencies are still missing on, or agents. They kind of, hey, this is the property, but you need to have something in there that's you, right? Why would they buy from you? Because there's tens of thousands of agents. In the US, there's like 1 million agents in New York only, I believe, right? Or in one city. So why would they buy from you compared to someone else? And as an agent, you're always always in competition because there's so many. So what makes you special? What makes you so interesting that they would buy from you, basically.
And I would say another big thing that a lot of people forget is, I agree that company can definitely help and definitely benefit people's buying decisions based off the reputation. But I always say that you can put the best broker in the worst agency, the most unknown agency ever, they will still make money.
Yeah, I agree.
And that is something that people often forget. They will always blame the brokerage, they'll blame the developer, they'll blame everyone else. And again, like we said, it comes down to accountability.
Yeah.
A good agent will make money anywhere. At the start, yes, okay, we want a good company because we want to have essentially the benefit or the bonus of being at a good company that's putting more money in, that's doing bigger numbers, got better reputation, that could, in essence, push that.
You get some leads maybe. Yeah.
Exactly. But when it comes down to it, the reality is you can put the best broker under the worst company. The biggest thing is that broker knows how to do their job properly.
Yeah.
It's not down to which company they're working for. It's down to themselves, their work rate, their belief, and their ethics.
And I think that's the main issue in basically in anyone who wants to grow a business. But as the business owner or as an agent, we just try to put the responsibility on someone else, or don't accept that maybe it's not our fault, but it's definitely our responsibility. And not taking ownership and not taking responsibility is, again, I've said about multiple things in this podcast, but it's also the biggest thing on why you fail, right? It always ends up being about you. Yeah. It's always you, and the more you recognize that it's you that's the problem, or that's not doing something that you're supposed to do to get results, if you constantly realize, okay, I'm responsible, what do I need to do better? That's where a lot of success comes from.
Yeah, I think accountability is a huge factor, not just in real estate, in any business, sales, marketing, whatever it may be. Understand what it is that you actually need to be accountable for, but also understand what it is that you can actually control. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people get caught up in what they can't control. Mm-hmm. And that's when mentally they start having the battle with themselves. Is this for them? Is this whatever? Yeah. You can't control certain things. You can try and alter, you can try and manipulate, you can try and steer things in a different direction, but there's certain things that regardless of what you do, even if you do your best on all levels, you cannot control. And I think accountability from a negative side is understanding that. Because yes, you need to understand what you need to be accountable for, but if you can't control it, you don't need to take accountability on it. You don't need to eat yourself up on it. Yeah. Some things just will not work out. And
I think that's what happens a lot in sales in general.
Massively.
You know? It's a tough job. It's a job of rejection. It's a job of high and lows, extreme highs, extreme lows.
Extreme.
And that can eat you alive.
Agreed.
And that is always a thing that you need to remember as well, and that you need to be ready for. But if you don't execute, you'll never know either, right? So that's very interesting. So anything to end off the podcast with, like, that you would say, okay, this is the most important thing that everyone that's in real estate sales needs to remember, both as a business owner or maybe an individual agent?
That's a tough one to narrow down.
Yeah.
I would say the main thing is what you do today is going to affect how tomorrow goes. And if you look at it as simple as that, that is essentially a bulletproof formula. Because if you can sit there confidently every day and say that you have done everything you can to generate a deal today, tomorrow, next week, next month, whatever it may be, and you know that every single day is a step in the right direction, like we say, the 1%, what you do today is going to affect how you do tomorrow. Yeah. So just the 1% better every single day, and keep pushing through, even if it's been 3 months, 6 months, mentally you're struggling, financially you're struggling. Yeah. Just stick to the basics. Today is always going to affect tomorrow, so make sure that today has been the best.
Yeah. And I would even add to that, like, the amount of value you give today is the amount of value you will get back or more in the future.
Exactly.
So if you stop focusing on selling the deal now, but just start focusing on, okay, how can I add value today? how can I add value today to as much people as possible? Okay, next day, how can I add value? That's, of course, you need to sell, of course, you need to follow up, and of course, you need to ask for the deal at some point in the conversation.
What goes around comes around.
Yeah, but if you keep adding value, that will come back to you.
Exactly.
Right? And that's a good valuable lesson. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I'll leave Lucas's details and all his links, websites, etc. In the description. He is a very experienced sales coach in real estate who helps agencies and developers train their team and make sure that they're actually hitting their goals. So yeah, you could connect them there. Maybe also an interesting part, we're now talking about having Lucas in our community to host Q&A meetings, which is gonna we'll come together very soon. So even if you join the Lead Estate growth community, then you might be able to speak to Lucas as well, and improve everything in terms of sales in your business. So yeah, looking forward to see you in the next video or the next podcast. Lucas,
thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
Been a pleasure.